Our desire is a contract that we make with ourselves to tell ourselves we're not going to be happy until we get what we want. Or are we truly making goals that are obtainable or feasible? Or are we just kidding ourselves? My name is Ramon Merchant, and this is Roll with the Punches. Yo, this is Roll with the Punches. I make these videos because I feel like it's time to put some more content into a world that's different than what everybody else is saying. The hoopla, oh, you're gonna be better, oh, blah 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 blah, and really kind of give some deep, meaty information. I still do epic thoughts, but this is my little 10-minute segment of what I want to share with you. I want to talk today about goals. Goals are really cool, and they're goals to have. But then I start thinking about like, yo, sometimes our goals do we make faulty goals because we know that essentially that they're never going to happen, or there's a lot of luck involved, or do we think that Jesus is going to come around with a magic wand and wave it over our head, and then all of a sudden we wake up with the money in our bank account and the car in our driveway? Or are we do we really make obtainable goals? And I hear people talk about their goals, and it's weird because and I'm a believer, I'm a born again believer, and I there's a dichotomy between um what can I do? What can I bring to the table? How much of this goal is reliant on me making the sacrifices and putting in the work to make this thing happen? And how much of it is Jesus really going to show up and help me and create an avenue or situations where I can win? And I've 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 been back and forth for many years. My whole life, I've been back and forth. Like, okay, so when is Jesus going to show up? And I started asking that question, like, yo, when he show up? And it's not like I don't think he's not going to show up, but it's almost to the point. And then, I always get the people who leave me comments or people who message and they say, well, you know what? If Jesus doesn't show up, then it wasn't a God goal. Then I have to ask the question, then why make a goal in the first place? You know what I'm saying? It's a dichotomy. If we really went into that deep hole, we'll be there forever because it's like, yo, so yeah, the goal didn't happen because it wasn't God's goal, it was your desire. Okay, then why have the desire if God wasn't going to come through? Oh, well, it's almost like prayer. Um, I pray that God's will be done. Okay, I pray that God's will be done, and something horrible happens. Well, it must have been God's will. It was God's will for my grandmother to pass like that, or to suffer. It was God's will for me to suffer, and I think sometimes we take things into we cast off things, and sometimes I feel like some of the suffering and some of the things for coming short on a goal, I can honestly say it was my fault, not God's. I can honestly say, yeah, I probably didn't work hard enough, or I probably didn't put in the effort, or I probably was lacking in a certain area that I knew I should have been better at. Um, to me, that's not God. That's just me, and it's just natural progression of life. Like, if you don't make the phone call, you're not going to be top salesman of the month, right? If your job is sales and you don't do the part to actually, I'm not talking about the actual extra work. I'm talking about just the basics. If you didn't pick up the phone from the lead, you're not going to get the job. You know, people always, people, if you didn't even apply for the job, you're not going to get the job. Like, if you don't do the simple basic things, because we always talk about, and even now you got people, and I was one of them. We were always talking about, you work hard and all your dreams are gonna come true. But I don't even know if you gotta work hard anymore, because if that was the case, then miners. There's still people who are coal miners out in this country today. They work hard and they are not millionaires. And I've seen a lot of millionaires who work, they just don't work that hard. Maybe in the very beginning, working hard was something that they had to do. Excuse me. In the beginning of working hard was something what they had to do. And they did it, but working hard, that's kind of questionable. So back to this thing called goals. Do we make lofty goals knowing that they're going to happen, or are we just kind of kidding ourselves? Is it is it ridiculous to have these goals? And I started having the mind shift of, maybe I should stop having the goal of something manifestating. Like, oh, my goal is to make this much money by the end of the year. My goal is to have this kind of car, or to have this kind of house, or my goal is to have my bank account look like this. Instead, I start having goals like, yo, I this is the kind of person I want to be. And life became a little bit more clearer understanding when I was saying my goal in life is to be this person. I want to be, excuse me, then my goals became kind of clear. My goals became, I want to be this type of person. By the end of the year, I want to be this type of person. And it became really simple after that because then it was like, um, when I came to a choice that I had to make or a quagmire I was in the middle of, I could say, I need to think about the person that I choose to be, that I want to be, and what that person would make a choice. I need to start thinking in things of, I started thinking of a grander purpose and say, I need to start thinking in the grander purpose and be like, what kind of decision would the future Ramon make? And my friend Tia Wood wrote a book that's pretty incredible called Kick Fear in the Face. It's available now on Amazon. You gotta go get it. It's a great book. And she talks about making a contract with your future self. What kind, making a contract with the person that you're going to become, what that contract looks like, what kind of decisions that person has to make, what kind of structure, there's that word again, what kind of structure does that person have to be in to be successful? And then you'll start gravitating your life based off of those things. And so, with that being said, the goals shifted. And now instead of the goal being or the goal of receiving, I should say, something tangible. The goal became a center of being. Like, I'm going to be this great father. I'm going to be a good father. And in that process, he's going to be this type of a father. And when you get to that place where you start putting yourself in the position of who you want to be, all the things that you want to attain, you can easily receive because you'll be that person that receives it. So it's not a matter of, because when you if I say, let's say I want to get a certain type of car and I want to obtain it, that's my goal in life is to get to that goal. Then there's no transferring of knowledge. There's no growth in anything. I'm just doing the footsteps. And here's the truth behind it. This is kind of tough too to hear, but if you can really obtain that goal, you would have already had the car, right? But if you were getting to the mindset of the type of person who can get the car, if you can be the mindset of the type of person that can get the car easily and move on to the next best thing. And the other thing that is good for that factor too is once you get to the car, you because what if my goal was just the car, once I get to the car, then I have to dream again. If I if I my goal is to be a certain type of business leader or a certain type of a father or anything like that, when I get to that person, I will realize that there's always going to be more to strive for. And I'm striving for a better version of myself instead of striving for something that I can attain that won't challenge me to get better or grow in the end. So with that being said, we make these assumptions and these goals that are basically contracts that we make with ourselves to not be happy until we attain something. And you can't live like that. That's not going to be very well kept in the long run. And think about it, if you really think about it, how many of those goals have you really made it up to? Like, really got to? But I would challenge you to, instead of that, make a goal to be somebody that you're trying to esteem. Who do you esteem to be? And if you can't figure out what that is for you, maybe there's somebody outside of, maybe it's a pastor, maybe it's a father or an uncle or a mom or somebody that you've looked up to and said, you know what? I kind of want to live like them. And I'm not saying that you should covet somebody else's life, but we all need to, if I do think we need to have goals. I think it's important to have goals. I think it's important to strive for excellence in some areas in your life and in most areas of your life. And we don't have to be exactly like anybody else, but he's like, what? I want to have the kind of mindset that processes information like this person does, or that person. And with that being said, that changes so many different things because then you start looking at your current reality. You start looking at the things and the people around you, and you go, yo, hold up. I don't think that this is the right set of circumstances I need to be surrounding myself if I'm going to be this type of a father. There comes a point where you want to be a good husband, and well, you need to stop going to strip clubs. A good husband doesn't go to strip clubs, or maybe you want to be more healthy in your mind, and you need to start making better choices when it comes to food because food does affect your mind. Like, I've had serious brain fog last week, and I think it was because I wasn't drinking enough water and I wasn't eating enough healthy foods. So then I start making decisions. You want to want to be better with money. Well, maybe you should stop hanging around people who have no concept of money. You start need to hang around people who have concept of money. There's a statement that goes around that says that you are the average of the 5 closest friends in your life. So you also got to look into that. Like, who is at your frequency and why are they there? Are there people? Do your friends complain about situations? Do they complain about the politics? Do we complain about stuff that they saw in the news? Or do they talk about ideas? I remember once I was on tour with my homeboy, and he's a very successful business person. And we went to a house in Atlanta, Georgia, and this house was amazing. It was a huge house, and I was just thankful to be on tour with him. And I'm on tour where we're eating, and I remember the conversations we were having around the dinner table. And these were people that I probably wouldn't select to be my friends. And the conversation around the dinner table was so different. It was unlike something I've ever experienced. I mean, before I go on tour, go to the barbershop once every 2 weeks. And if you ever been to a black barbershop, the conversations there are very interesting, I should to say the least. And I remember thinking to myself, we never talked like this in the barbershop when we were at dinner. And this is white people, we were at white dinner. So we never had conversations like this. And I remember saying that to my friend in the tour bus when we left the house. I was like, yo, we don't have conversations like that at the barbershop, and it made me go, "Wow, I'm the average of the people I spend the most time with." And so then I started changing my frequency up, and people were like, "Well, you act like you're stuck up," and I was like, "No, I'm just trying to do better for myself." And we can't sit here and talk about who's greater, LeBron or Michael. Like neither it doesn't matter who's better, LeBron or Michael. It doesn't matter. You know why it doesn't matter? Because in the long run, how does that help me? As to be a father and a husband. How does that help me? It doesn't. Oh, y- Black Lives Matter. How does that help me in the end? It doesn't help me in the end. I need to be around people that help me figure out because I have questions about the S&P. I have questions about IRA, and I'm paying into life insurance for my family, and I think to myself, am I paying into insurance because that's what we're told to do, or is there more value I can get from my money? So I started asking people who knew about money, and we started having conversations. So then would your goals in life should not be to obtain wealthy things or to floss just for floss sakes. Your goal in life should be, look, I need to increase my mind to be a certain type of individual so I can do more, so I can be more of a effective member in my community, so I can be more effective spouse, so I can have a more effective business. And then the wealth and all that stuff will come to expand your room, not necessarily to floss on other people. So keep that in consideration. Let's change some lofty goals and some goals of like, I want a vacation. The kind of person you would be would need a vacation possibly. I don't know, but we need to change the angle and say, instead of being this type of person, or instead of looking for this, I need to be this. We're human beings, so becoming and growing into what we desire to be. And with that, you may have to make some hard choices, including, where you spend your time and who you spend your time with. And yet, you could probably, yeah, you've been friends with. There's some people you may have to cut friendship with, and it sounds really asinine to say, but you know, you think about it. You hang out with certain friends for a long time period of time. You're like, we can't keep talking about the same thing, doing the same stuff, getting high and drunk all day. That's just not going to work for me. And your future you depends on it. All right. God bless. Take care of yourself and each other. All right. Love each other. Peace.